Good afternoon, boys and girls. Assembly time. This week, normally we have a celebration assembly on a Friday, but this week, I think because you've all done such an amazing job of coming back to school, we're not going to pick out individual names, but you all need to, first and foremost, give yourselves a big pat on the back for a job well done of coming back to school, working really hard, being kind to your friends and all the things that we talked about on Monday's assembly. And we also need to give a big clap to the adults in your room who have also worked really hard to make sure the school was ready for you, to make sure we had a really smooth week back, to get everything prepared and sorted. So lots of really great things to celebrate in school this week. But what I'm going to talk to you about this week is something to do with our community and one of our key values, and that key value of be you, and the fact that we are all very different to each other, and what a wonderful thing that is. And the phrase we're going to keep coming back to in today's assembly, and the one I want to take away from you, is the fact that we are different but equally special, because there are things which are different about all of us, and that is a brilliant thing to have, but different but equally special. I'm also going to read you a story, and this from this book called The Girls. I don't often read a story in assembly to you, but this is a beautiful book that I read to my daughter Indigo, because it's all about 4 girls who are different but equally special. So we're going to talk about some things, and today's assembly is going to be a little bit different. Teachers, I'm going to warn you, because I haven't done, you're going to need to pause the video, and we're going to need to give some discussion time. And the other thing you're going to need, boys and girls, is you're going to need a whiteboard pen, and be ready to talk to the person next to you. Okay? Because we're going to be asking some key questions about each other and how we treat each other. And that's really important as well, because we are, can you remember what the phrase was? All different but equally special. Okay, so I'm going to take myself off this screen, and you're going to hear my voice as we're going to talk about some of those key questions before we read the story at the end together. Brilliant, okay.
So the first question I want you to ask yourself, boys and girls, is what makes you special? I want you to take a minute on your whiteboards and just jot down a couple of ideas about what makes you special. Teachers, can you pause the video now so you've got a chance to share some of those ideas about the things that make us special? I'll give you an example. One of the things that makes me special is the fact that I make sure I'm kind to people. Another thing that makes me special is that I am a teacher and I like helping people. So there's 2 things that make me special. My question is, what makes you special? So the next question I want you to think about is, what's the same about you to other people? What things have you got in common with other people around you? It might be the fact we all go to Brindley Heath, or you're all 8. Or it might be some of the things you enjoy doing with the people around you. Just have a little think in your head. You don't need to write anything down this time, about what's the same about you in comparison to other people. What I'm going to ask you to do now, boys and girls, I'm asking you to split your whiteboard into 3 different sections. Okay, and you and your partner are going to work together on one whiteboard this time. So on the far section, the section closest by you, you can write your name. I'll show you an example. You can write your name. So I've got Mr. Martin, and then my partner will be Mr. Aurora. And then what your task is here is I want you to write about the things which are different in your own column. The things which are different about you and your partner. And in the middle, I want you to have a think about the things which are the same as your partner. Okay? It could be about what you look like. It could be about the things that you enjoy or dislike. Pause this video, take a couple of minutes to have a go at looking between you and your partner. What's the same as each other in the middle, but also what's different and makes you equally special. So I want you to look at your fingertips, boys and girls. I'm going to tell you a fact about your fingerprints. Your fingerprints are unique to you. Nobody else in this planet has got the same pattern in their fingertips as you have. And I've got some examples on the screen here of those fingertips. Another great way of looking at the fact that actually we're all different to each other, but equally special. But some things, like the fact we all have fingertips, mean that fingerprints is something which is the same, even though the patterns are different and equally special. And there's so many things in life, boys and girls, where we can look at where some things around us are the same and some things which are equally special, and we celebrate those differences. I know at Assembly we've talked before about Martin Luther King, and I want to go back to the idea that he was the leader of a civil rights movement in the 1960s and looking to make people be seen and celebrate those differences, so there was equality between black people in America and white people. His famous speech, I have a dream that one day my 4 children will live in a nation where they'll be not judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. And that's really, really important, isn't it? That we judge people not by the way they look or the things which are their difference, but actually by the content of their character, the way they act, the way they treat people, what they believe and what they stand up for. So the question comes down to is, should everybody be equal? Are some people better than others? Have a little chat in your classrooms. Pause this video now. I'm hoping, boys and girls, that a lot of your discussion was the fact that, yes, everyone should be equal. Everyone should be treated fairly. Everyone should have the same opportunities and rights and each other. So is it fair that some people don't always get treated equally? Pause the video now and talk about this in your classrooms. Sometimes, boys and girls, when people aren't treated equally, it sometimes comes down to their race, so the colour of their skin, where they come from, their heritage and culture. Sometimes people aren't treated equally because of their gender, whether they're a man or a woman. Sometimes people aren't treated equally based on their relationships and who they fall in love with, whether that's a man and a woman, 2 men who fall in love, or 2 women. And sometimes people aren't treated equally because of a disability, whether that's a disability which is visible or a disability that we can't see at first glance. And I think it's a real shame, boys and girls, that some people are treated unfairly, whereas what we need to do is celebrate what makes us different. It's not something that we ignore difference, because what makes us different makes us special, and what makes us unique. We need to acknowledge it and celebrate that that's part of who we are. But ultimately, the content of our character, how we treat people, how we treat the things around us, is always the most important thing. So, is it okay to ask questions about what makes us different? Is it okay to ask questions about what other people might believe, or what other people think, or about other people's cultures and heritage? Well, of course it's okay to ask questions about what makes us different. It's by asking questions and finding out more information that we understand, and when we understand each other, it means we can get along with each other better. And when we seek to understand, we have a better understanding of the world around us, and that will make the world a better place. But is it ever okay to be unkind about what makes us different? Whether that's about race, gender, relationships, or a disability. Now, I'm hoping, boys and girls, that you're all shaking your heads with a no, because it is never okay to make comments or to take action that is about being unkind about what makes us different. Because we are all different, we are all equally special. And we know some of those words. We know words like racism, where people may make a racist comment about people's backgrounds, cultural history, colour of their skin. We know sometimes people do make comments around the difference between men and women, and we call that sexism. And it's never okay to be unkind about the things that make us different. And it's so important that we think, boys and girls. And part of this asking questions and trying to understand more is asking some questions about ourselves. What am I saying? What am I thinking? Or what do I need to understand? And being careful around what we think and we say. That's not to say we can't seek to understand each other and ask those kind of questions to help us understand better, because that's really important. But we also need to be very mindful of what we're saying And what we're thinking, and is that an okay thing to say? And is that an okay thing to think? Or is that something which would be unkind to somebody about somebody's difference? Now, this week marks International Women's Day. That was on Monday. It's Women's History Month this month. And I think it's really important to recognise the fact that this is a time to celebrate women in our lives. It's Mothering Sunday on Sundays, that's important as well. But also to celebrate the things that make us different. And in the story that I'm going to read to you, you'll see 4 girls who grow up together. And what they do is they support each other. They support each other to be strong, powerful women. And they're supported by other people as well. Now, boys, I'm still talking to you here in this situation, because even though you may not be a girl, you may not be a woman, actually your job is also to celebrate powerful women and ensure that your actions and your thoughts and what you're saying promotes and celebrates that difference between men and women. And remember, because we're different, we are equally special. So, boys and girls, I'm going to round off this assembly by reading a story to you, which is the story of the girls. I really hope you enjoy it, because I know my daughter really enjoys it, and I enjoy reading it to her as well.
Okay, boys and girls, for the last part of our assembly today, I'm going to read you a story. And this is a book called The Girls. It is a book that I read to my daughter at bedtime. It's about these 4 girls here who are different but equally special. I'm going to look through the story about how they're equally special, but different in their own way. So these are the 4 girls here. We've got Sasha, we've got Lottie, we've got Alice, and we've got Leela here. And I also want to bring your attention just to these dedications here, written by the authors and the illustrator. You know, as I've talked about, that it's been International Women's Day on Monday. And these dedications are important for the girls who made me the woman I am, especially for Sian, since we were yay high. And this one here is to all the strong women who have made me who I am, and to my dad, who didn't get to see this book, but who always supported me. So, this is the story of the girls. Once there were a tree that grew little girls as well as apples. The 4 girls were as different as they were the same, and they were the best of friends. There was Lottie, the adventurer, who was the first to find the tree. Then there was Leela, who always had the good ideas. It was Leela who decided they should make the tree their secret meeting place. Sasha was the practical one. When a very ambitious climber fell out of a tree, Sasha was the first one there to pick her up and dust her off. And last but no means least, there was Alice, the performer, who had a talent for making everybody laugh. Everything was more fun when the girls were together. Secrets, dreams, worries and schemes were all shared beneath the tree's branches. Of course, there were times when the jokes went too far and laughter turned to crosswords and sometimes even tears. But the girls all had kind hearts. They knew how to say sorry and learned something from every falling out. The girls were very good at celebrating each other's successes. But even better at supporting each other when things went wrong. As the tree grew, the branches spread wider and the roots reached deeper into the ground. Days passed when the busy girls didn't visit their tree at all. Together and apart, the girls went on becoming who they were going to be. They learnt new things, shared new experiences, fell in love, and they always took pride in their friendships. As the girls grew, they remained rooted together. When one heart was broken, they all felt the pain, but they built each other strong enough to heal. The girls became women. They worked hard. They found new love. They laid foundations for the future. They had the world at their feet. Leela continued to inspire them, and lots of other people too. Sasha was still looking after bruised apples. Alice introduced a new friend to the group. Adventures took Lottie far away, but she always brought her stories home. The four women were still as different as they were the same, and they were still the best of friends. Whatever the future might bring, even if one of the women felt lost, they always knew where friendship could be found.